Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the 365 Message Center Show. This week we are talking about some Teams updates, so preventing attendees from showing their video in Teams meetings. We're talking about Viva Connections for Microsoft Teams desktop client and changing the way we change permissions on sharing links. Let's roll it. Hello, everyone. Hello, Daryl. Nice to see you, my friend.
You too. So we have some Teams updates for a change, huh?
Yeah, I feel like we've done a poor job of making sure that, Teams is part of our show.
Yeah, look, there's plenty changing always in the products, aren't there? So
Yeah.
if it's the hub for teamwork I think we've got past it just being a place to connect stuff, but there are things that are definitely happening and that are significant. We do mention other things too, and we'll see some of that in the show today.
Most certainly. It is not just a Teams update show. We've got quite a few updates, but saying that though, we are going to start off with it's a combo here, right? It's Viva Connections for Microsoft Teams.
Yeah. Now I took a closer look at this message. We've been commonly talking about it as, oh, isn't that just the home site app? Well, it's now, if you have a close look at this message, it is formally known as the home site app. Viva Connections is a lot more than that. So what do we got? MC244743 Viva Connections for the Microsoft Teams desktop client. This update's coming to the desktop client first. We're not going to see it necessarily for the Teams within the web browser or Teams on your mobile at this stage, but that's where they'll start. Now, it's also quite deceptive in that there is more to prepare for this than you realize. First of all, I'll explain a bit more about what it is and some of the advantages. So Daniel showing up on the screen. Yes, at a first glance, wow, it looks like it's just the intranet come into Teams. But we do have a menu on the side, which they call the global navigation, and that will become available too as part of the app. The app will be something that you can name for yourself. You can provide an icon. So in that sense, you're giving a bit of branding. And within that global nav, you'll also have an area for some of the sites that you frequent and follow, and some news that will be relevant to you. So that whole global nav pane is more than just navigation. It's said that by bringing the intranet in like this in a home site, or what we call Viva Connections, it is about bringing in org brand and identity. So more than just the intranet homepage, but also a place to catch up with everything there. Now, let's get to that preparation stuff. I know, Daniel, you've taken a closer look at this as well in anticipation. Do you think that people should take a closer look at these steps and really understand them, or is it something that on the day when this is available, it'll be pretty easy to get through?
I'm not going to say easy, but I think as long as you follow steps, I think Microsoft has realized this is not a click one button and you're done process. So they've documented it pretty well. And this is kind of the same types of list of when we talked about having that global navigation, the SharePoint app bar, as it's called. So setting up a home site in your tenant, right? And setting up the navigation on that site of your home site. I mean, those are all things that you need to do for that navigation in SharePoint. So that's all great. You should have either already done it when we told you to do it while we're on the show, and you can go ahead and do that now. But it is something that then you have to run PowerShell and get going, and that PowerShell is not ready yet, right? Or at least hasn't been released, right, Daryl?
Well, that seems to be the mechanism they're using for making it available. Unlike some features where it will appear in your tenant between the dates of this and that, or not. Maybe it'll be updated because the rollout times are different. This one depends on a SharePoint script to be made available, PowerShell script, to actually go through and configure this. And really what it's achieving is creating an app package for Teams, which you will use within Teams Admin Center to deploy to people within the desktop application. So that's its end goal. But like Daniel said, there's a few things that you need to do beforehand, like setting the home site. And in fact, when I look at that script, and I'll just say this as a last point to finish off, there seems to be some things that you need to have available to describe the app, to say, this is the icon I want to use. And so really do, actually the link that I recommend, just search for, and we'll probably put this in the description or comments below, the step-by-step guide to set up Viva Connections in Teams Desktop. There are a couple of other pages that take you through, but I think this is the best one that covers everything. So, right, down below.
Yeah, we'll put that in the notes. So
Excellent.
That sounds great.
You were muted, Daniel.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you were. Look, well, this is a Teams meeting, so it's perfectly fine. But yeah, so that is going to be available 31st of March. We're also wondering if the world is rushing to run this, will they need to have capacity to deal with all the processing of these PowerShell scripts?
Right. I mean, if people, Viva Connections is Microsoft Viva is something that people are excited about. And so here we are bringing two things that people get excited about, I think, in the collaboration space of Viva Connections and Microsoft Teams. And so I think there's going to be a lot of people that run out and do this on March 31st to give it a try. I think make sure that you are testing, and I would say don't just throw it out there for your users. Let's have a proper communication plan and testing plan. So that's all.
Great. Now, next message, Daniel. This is again staying with Teams and giving us a bit of control around a meeting experience.
Yeah, this is prevent attendees from sharing video feed in Microsoft Teams meeting, MC 244745. And this is a very well named message. So this is really giving the ability for meeting organizers before the meeting to set up whether they want to allow attendees to turn on their video or not. And this is rolling out mid-April through late April, not rolling out in stages. This is rolling out globally during mid to late April. So I said organizers. So organizers are the only ones that have the meeting options link and can set the meeting options before the meeting starts. So before the meeting, organizers can turn it off and say, I don't want attendees to turn on their video. But during the meeting, organizers or any presenter can then allow attendees to kind of basically override that and allow attendees to turn on their video if they would like, or they can pick and choose who they want to allow to turn on their video. This is, I think, when we couple this with several other features that Teams is rolling out and has rolled out, this is allowing you to have a bit of an experience where you don't have distractions. You don't have, it's more of a presentation than an interaction kind of experience where instead of people being, distracted by what people are doing on video, while you're presenting, they can focus on the content and focus on you as the presenter. So I'm excited about this, and I think it will be something that I use for presentations. Sometimes, if I'm doing a webinar, for instance, I might try this. And I think, it's something that you can easily test in your environment. So coming in about a month or so is that one. So let's stay in Teams, if you're okay with that, Daryl. But
Sure,
let's
let's
throw
do
in
that.
a wrench. Not a wrench. Let's throw in another
Oh,
platform
what?
called Forms. How about that?
Oh, forms. Okay. Well, but we're still staying with the Teams meeting experience, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So it's about making it possible to use Teams polls powered by forms within meeting experience. This is MC245021. Now, I think this is going to help with meeting organizers who want to plan for interaction within their meetings. I'm glad to see that with this feature you can create these polls ahead of time, and I'll just talk you through it a bit. All right, you as a meeting organizer, of course, you create your meeting. When you're creating your meeting within Teams in particular, you can add tabs to your meeting experience, can't you? And the forms or polls will be another tab that you can add. And so ahead of time, if I want to ask questions of people throughout the meeting that I'm trying to create or trying to plan for, I can come up with my questions, plan it ahead of time, and then when it comes to the meeting time, I can publish or show those forms. Now, the experience that a attendee will have when a form is published or poll is published, it will pop up within the meeting stage, and it will also show within chat. So Daniel's showing that pop-up experience there on screen. So it's going to be hard for someone to miss. They won't, it won't just be in chat and then they'll miss it if they're just focusing on content. What do you think about the options there, Daniel? What are we seeing there?
Yeah, the experience I think is something that I'm going to really have to test out because, as you talked about, and I'm showing the screen here, the experience of, and this is a screenshot of, I'm drafting these polls.
Mm,
How do I and how does that experience work as a organizer as a presenter, I guess, to launch and
mm,
have then the pop-up happen? So, what is that going to be like? How is that going to feel for the presenter? Because it needs to be smooth,
mm.
I think, and I hope it
I think
is.
you've
I hope,
you've really touched on something
yeah.
there, Daniel, because I think if you're flying solo, you're presenting solo, it looks like you have to go back to that forms or polls tab in your meeting
Hmm.
and then choose to launch it. And so that'll be quite a jarring experience for someone who's presenting. But if you're
Yeah.
palling up with someone as a co-pilot, then that shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on how you're presenting because if you have one screen and you're actually sharing your desktop,
Mm,
then everyone's going to see you switch back to that tab, right, to launch the poll. If
yeah.
you have one screen or multiple screens, but if you have one screen and you're sharing the presentation of PowerPoint,
Hmm.
not your whole desktop, then they won't see you going back. Or if you have
Mm,
multiple, you can have it on a separate screen. I feel like it will take practice to be good at this, and I just hope people take the time to do that. To
mm.
be able to just switch and go, okay, let's talk about this now, and it not be that delay that we all experience in meetings where people have to unshare or they're trying to go share, and you're just sitting there like, why can't this be
Yeah.
easier?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. And I think just based on that screenshot, so you don't have to go back to it, but I think it was showing there the PowerPoint um, presented from within Teams. So it looks like we're hoping that you can switch between that form and launching it without interrupting necessarily the PowerPoint that you are presenting.
Yeah.
The other thing that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that will work just fine.
Mm,
Again, it just depends on if you are using that feature or if you're sharing your desktop, then. So
We have focused a lot, as we talked about this, on organizing that form beforehand. You can create your poll during the meeting if it's just ad hoc, right? Again, I don't imagine you'd want to be doing that as a presenter because it really would break the flow unless you can talk through some of the options and say, okay, what four things are we going to poll on, and then just do it on screen. But you can throw it up there on the fly. Now, yeah, talked enough about this. Just to say that you can also look at these results in real time. You can take those results and export them into an Excel. So all these sorts of advantages of running the poll out of forms. This is rolling out mid-April and complete late April.
I just said that about the message we talked about before. And so I just want to point that out, that it seems like there's going to be lots of things rolling out mid-April, to the end of April. So, in
Definitely.
Teams. All right, let's talk about something that's not Teams. Although, Teams is supposed to be getting this. But anyway, the sharing experience. So adding quick permissions to the OneDrive and SharePoint share control, MC244885. And this is for targeted release late March, so just in a couple weeks through early April, and then standard release early April through mid-April. And this is really bringing the ability to choose if the person you're sharing with, or group, or several people, can have edit or view permissions. And it's bringing that, though, to right onto the share screen itself. And I'll scroll down here and show. Instead, right now, the way this works is if I want to change, I'm sending a link, the default's edit, but I want only view, then I have to click on the link setting details. So, where it says, in this screenshot, it says people in Microsoft with the link can edit. I have to click that. It brings up a new window. I then have to go and uncheck the box of allow editing. It's just it's a lot of clicks. And frankly, it's the one thing I do so much. That's the one, it's probably 60%, 70% of the time I'm doing a share link, I just want them to view. And that's, that's me personally. Others may want to, do edits, but anyway, so I changed that a lot, but they're bringing it right here onto the main share screen itself, the send link screen. We can change it to being edit or, the default edit here, but changing it to just view. So I like it. If you often use the default of the sharing, meaning if you have the default such as this, that the link is for people in your organization, or you can set it to a default of everyone, anyone with the link. But if you're comfortable with the default, then great. All you have to do is change that and click either send, or if you want to send the email, or if you just want to copy a link, you could do that straight away and just get on with it instead of having so many clicks. So it's kind of a quick update there. But Daryl, do you like it?
I think it will drive a better behavior around choosing the right permission, because it was tucked further down on the form, as you say, and I think most people would have just stuck with the defaults. The kind of behavior I see is a lot of people will just go share, and they won't even necessarily change the audience. They'll just go, exactly, everyone in my org.
And those are different.
Defaults edit.
Yeah, well, and it's different. Those permissions are different. Anyone, there is a slight difference between people in my org and people I'm sending this to. So basically, if I select people I'm sending this to, who I'm sharing this with, it's a non-transferable token, meaning it is to them and only them. If they forward your email to someone else in the organization, that someone else will not be able to click it and will not be able to view it. So if you're trying to control the document that way, then that's good. If the default is people in my org, then, and I think I'm just sending it to these 3 people or whatever, but they forward it around to 100 other people in my organization, every one of those people get access to it because they have that. It is a transferable token. They can, as soon as they get it and they click on it, it assigns the permissions right then. So now they have permissions to the document. And like you said, most people just run through it and edit as the default, and now they're giving edit permissions to whoever gets the email. So making it easier to control that, I think, is great.
Definitely. By bringing it front and center, that helps a lot.
Exactly. Let's do some quick mentions, shall we?
Yeah. Well, this first one is certainly a quick mention, but it's also something that you may find useful if you are working with SharePoint pages. Focus mode for modern SharePoint pages, MC244912. Focus mode, a little like when you go into focus mode in Word. It's about tucking away all the additional stuff and letting you focus on the content of the page. So in your SharePoint experience, that means it's tucking away the navigation, the global navigation, the site navigation header images, so that if you're either reading content, let's say it's a news page, or if you're authoring content, then you're just focused on that content within the middle of the page, and you can carry on from there. Now, the interesting thing about it in terms of behavior is, let's say that you have some navigation in the middle of that page and you're reading that page, turn focus mode on. And when you click a link on that page, if the next page that loads is the same site that you turned on focus mode will remain active. If it takes you off to another site, then focus mode will turn off. So interesting behavior there, but I think it will be useful. It's worth a quick mention. This is rolling out early May and should be complete late May.
Yep. I think it's good. I'd like to see the telemetry on it, to be honest. I just don't know, how often it's going to be used. And I'd like to see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm done with the with non-teams. Let's get back to teams. It's a joke, people. So we're going to do a couple quick mentions here that are updates, meaning things have changed. So the first one up is updated Microsoft Teams revised in-meeting share experience, MC235111. We talked about this before. And really, though, the update here, and you'll notice it was published January 19th. But the update here is that the rollout timeline has changed to mid-April, end of April. Anybody remember me mention that before? So this is going to be bundled in with the updates that are sent that we've already talked about. But this is the sharing experience changing a little bit in your meetings.
No longer that sharing tray that goes along the bottom and confuses people. It'll tuck away up in the top right corner.
Right. So, sorry about that, people flipping. The next update is the Microsoft Teams Dynamic View, MC242824. This is, again, the update here is just rollout. We talked about this. This is published March 3rd. We've talked about this on the show before. The new rollout is mid-April to the end of April. Anybody remember that time frame? Yes, this is another one that's being delayed. Same kind of time
frame.
Seeing
a pattern.
Mm-hmm. I am seeing a pattern. So that one is going to be coming out in the next month or so. So that's cool. And Daryl, what about...
Yes.
Should we switch products or should we stay in Teams?
Well, let's stay in Teams. Okay. Another quick mention, but this is more on the side of making it easier to create teams. Teams templates, customizable website tabs in Teams templates. That's MC244741. What am I talking about? As a Teams admin, you can create templates for Teams and make them available for your org to create teams. You have been able to add apps that you might want to pre-populate these templates with. And this change is referencing the website app or website tab. And you can now configure a website ahead of time, and that tab will load the website that you might want to load. There are some quirks around it. because it has been in beta for a bit. And the strange thing is the advice, if it doesn't work properly, then you ask your users to remove well, rather the owner of the team to remove the tab and add it back again. So that kind of negates it.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, then fix it.
Yeah, recreate it. And it is just a website tab, people. Okay, it's so if you're trying to do anything fancy within this, and you're expecting pass-through authentication, all that sort of stuff, remember there are some restrictions, but at least you can do it ahead of time and guide your people with a Teams template to a certain piece of content that you might want. So that is rolling out late March, so nowish, and complete early April.
Let's get on to one of my favorite, probably top 3 favorite segments of the show, which is kind of funny that those that keep up with the show, we only have 3 segments right now. So anyway, let's do callback. So we have a callback about the WebPart toolbox updates.
I should have asked you, Daniel, if you would be ready to jump into a page and show this. I didn't check with you if you actually had it land, but let me talk through it. The WebPart toolbox, when you go into edit mode on a modern page and you want to search for a WebPart and add it to the page, that WebPart picker, what they call the WebPart toolbox, is changing. You'll still have a search box. You will still have a list of applications, but there we go on screen. What you'll have is a new drop down, or what do you call it? Sorry, a drop down menu for the categories. You can also change the view from grid to list. And when you go back to grid there, Daniel, what you will notice is we used to have for each category almost like a limit of so many apps, and then it would say click to show more. We don't have that anymore. Everything is viewable from that list from the get-go. I admit I use the search box most of the time to look for something that I want to put on a page, but I do think that this tidy up of the toolbox is helpful.
I do too, and I think it is. When you're editing a page, sometimes there's different times when you're editing a page. Sometimes you know exactly what you want. You're like, I need to add YouTube. So you come in here and just, search for YouTube, and there it is, and you can get on with your business. But there's other times where you're like, I need to snazzy this thing up. And that's snazzy. Is that a word? I need to make this pretty. Let's look at the web parts and see what it is that I can add here to make it look pretty. And so sometimes it's like, oh wait, what is the sites thing? Oh, maybe I want to add that. So it kind of depends on what your intent is. But I really like this showing them all instead of having to expand. You could do the expand and it would show them all, and it's like, why do I need that extra click? I also like this descriptions. So if you switch over to the list view, yes, it's a long list, okay, people, but it tells you exactly what they are. So for people maybe that are not familiar with it, or new page authors, or there's some new stuff in here that maybe you haven't used previously, you can read what it is before you start adding it to your page. So I really like that. There is a quirk about this. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but I'm in list. I've scrolled down. I go back. I am scrolled down. If I go back to the grid view, it doesn't start me back up at the top of the grid.
Did it start you though in the list view? Did it keep you at that same app that you were looking at in the list?
No.
Okay.
It didn't. So if I'm looking at text and media content and I click on list, then it really is just kind of where you are. I think kind of a percentage of the scroll bar or something. So it's a little bit of quirk. I'm going to report that as a bug. We'll see if that gets fixed. Maybe I'll probably get a response from the engineer of works as intended. I love those responses from engineers.
Have you had to install many custom apps in SharePoint, or maybe third-party apps from Intranet in a Box? Yeah. Where do they usually fit in terms of the categories? Because If I think
Yeah.
of learning pathways, it's in the advanced category, which is always at the bottom.
Yeah, they are. That is correct.
Right.
Yep.
Custom apps are always in the advanced category.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's a good update. In fact, the adding a web part to a page hasn't really changed for a long time in modern. I mean, it just really hasn't. There's been some tweaks, but I feel like this is more than a tweak. What do you think? I mean, do you like this?
Yeah, beforehand, I think much like I made that comment around advanced web
Yeah.
parts,
Yeah.
if you're not using the search box, you've probably developed some scroll memory, some muscle memory that if I scroll down
Scroll.
one or two scrolls, I'm going to hit the category that I'm after, and I'm going to find that app. And so this, helps to tidy up that experience. I don't know about the list view, which shows the descriptions, is interesting, but I'm kind of a visual person. If I don't know what the web part is, I'm going to put it on my page anyway and go, what is this? What does this do?
It'd be kind of interesting if you hovered over and it popped up a modal of a preview of the web. That would be interesting. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's too much. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, that is our callback for this week. I hope everyone enjoyed that and goes make use of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a lot to call back on in April. All these updates that updated delivery times.
Or not.
Or not.
As I cringe of, I hope they make their dates,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah. Well, I want to say we have a Clubhouse meeting again scheduled for this week. We had a good time in the Clubhouse. I think that we had a couple of new folks, and it was a great experience, I think. So please, if you're not on Clubhouse, it is iOS only, so iPad or iPhone right now. But if you're on Clubhouse, you can go to clubhouse.365mcs.com. I think that's the right URL, and I'm going to try it right now just to make sure. 365mcs.org. No, not .org. .com. Don't do .org. It doesn't go anywhere. It is .com. And then join our club. It is the 365 Message Center Show Club. But we do have one scheduled for this week, and we'll sit and chat with you. Hopefully, just raise your hand and say, hey, I want to talk, and we'll engage with you, right, Daryl? I enjoy that time.
Yeah. Well, I do too, because this is the opportunity for us to also talk as a community about what we're seeing and how we see these things landing. Enjoy having Joe along frequently to talk about the compliance and security aspect of things. I think there's just been some good attendance, which we do want to lift. We do want to be able to hear back from you so we can mention some of these opinions and thoughts within the show.
Yeah, and we've grown in membership. I think we had 4 maybe a couple weeks ago. We have 17 members now and quite a few followers. So in addition to that, so please come and join us. If you need an invite, hit us up on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever on the 365 MCS, and we can get you an invite, okay? So anyway, so join us this week. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 187. We are getting up there in the numbers. I love it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And Daryl, thank you very much. I think we had a great show, maybe.
Definitely.
Hey, everyone, make sure you hit the like, thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and click the little bell. Those of you on YouTube. So you get reminders of when the show goes live.
Awesome.
So we will catch you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.